This may be the single most important informational video I have ever made. And hold on, I know that some of you guys out there may be thinking, bro, come on, that is such a big statement to say. Is this clickbait? I'm ready, man. I'm ready. That dislike is coming. But hold your horses, there is a reason why I'm doing this. This topic, as you guys probably already see in the video title right now, this is the most common question I get asked in my messages, comments, emails, everything. Okay, alright, but jokes aside, so the most common question I get asked is simply, people will say to me like, hey Igor, I am X amount of pounds at X height, I have like this estimated body fat percentage, and I don't know what to do. You know, I want to get leaner, but I want to get bigger. What do I do? Do I cut or do I bulk? What do I start out with? And the problem with this is that there are quite a few factors and variables all at play simultaneously, which could influence what I recommend your initial strategy to be. So this video is going to finally answer the question once and for all. In my personal opinion, when you look at the variables, when you look at the factors, which we're about to get into in a minute, should you cut, bulk, or perhaps in option number 3 or in option number 4, what should you do? Let's jump into something which I made, which is going to make this process so much simpler. And I'm pretty proud of this because, to be honest, I'm not that good at Photoshop and I made this. So guys, leave this video a like because although this looks simple, it took me a solid 2 hours to make. Okay guys, so here is the flowchart and it's going to simply ask you a few questions, and as long as you follow it, essentially it will lead you back to the final goal, which I personally, based on my experience, recommend that you should do. Let's start off with, are you comfortable with your current level of body fat? This is probably the most important thing you have to ask yourself. Is this fine? Am I okay with potentially staying the same or perhaps even gaining a little bit more body fat if it's a necessary sacrifice in order to put on additional muscle and strength? Or is this too much? Am I not happy with this? So let's say you say no. Well, right off the bat, are you under 18 is a very important question to ask, because if the answer is yes, I recommend you do a recomposition. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, a recomposition, this is something I have mentioned in the past in one of my my more popular videos. I think it was called Can You Cut and Bulk at the Same Time? It had like over 400,000 views, and essentially it talked about whether or not it is possible to lose body fat and build muscle at the same time. Now, if you want to go check out that video, I highly recommend you do so. I'm going to leave a link to it down in the description box below. But essentially, a super quick summary is I was talking about whether or not it is possible to bulk and cut at the same time. Can you build muscle, get stronger, get bigger, but then get smaller in terms of body fat? And I said essentially that's kind of hard because it's almost like you're telling your body to look left and right at the same time. However, for a few individuals in certain circumstances, it is not only possible, it's quite likely as long as you train hard, consume a good high intake of protein relative to your body weight. And the cases where this is the case is for younger individuals, both ideally in terms of age, physical age, and training age. So if an individual is 18, he's physically young. If an individual is 40, but he's never stepped into the gym, he's training young. He may be 40 years old, but in terms of his training years, his training age, he is essentially a baby. If it says yes, automatically, you should do a recomposition. I recommend this 100%. Have you been training for about over 2 years is the next question. If the answer is no, once again, go for a recomposition because you are somewhat of a training baby. Now, if the answer is yes, then you are not a training baby, and unfortunately, recomposition becomes more unlikely. And the reason behind this is because your body's become desensitized to training. If, you have been training for a while, like for example, look at my case, right? I've been training for over a decade. If I actually tried to do a recomposition, lose body fat and build muscle at the same time, not only is it not going to work, but it's not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to lose body fat. I'm not going to gain muscle. I'm going to take 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. I'm just going to end up spinning my wheels. That ship has sailed for my body because I've been training for a good amount of time and I've been training properly. If you've been kind of dicking around in the gym for a year or two, you can still probably do this because you haven't really trained. So let's jump onto the other side of the flowchart. Let's say, you are comfortable with your level of body fat. You are lean or you're normal, you're a healthy individual, and you're like, screw it, I can put on a few more pounds. I don't really care. do you want more size? If the answer is no, then what the hell are you doing on my channel? Come on, you don't want more muscle mass? Who are you? What's going on here? Come on. Come on. If you really are happy with your body fat percentage and you are happy with your muscle size, then screw it. Just maintain. Let's say you burn 2,500 calories on a daily basis. So you're going to eat 2,500 calories on a daily basis. You're not going to get bigger in terms of muscle mass. You're not going to get smaller in terms of body fat. You essentially stay the same. That's good because that's essentially your goal. You don't care about getting leaner. You don't care about getting bigger. This is essentially like secret option number 4. After a lean bulk cut, recomposition, secret option number 4 is to just maintain, stay the same. And if you want to do that, by all means, Godspeed. Next up, do you want more size? If the answer is yes, then I definitely advocate you jump into a lean bulk. You guys will notice that bulking, like dirty bulking, where you eat like a lot of food, like let's say your body maintains its current size on about 2,500 calories. Lean bulking would be like you eating 2,800, maybe 2,900 calories, just a little bit over. That way you put on lean muscle mass, you put on strength slowly. Do you gain a little bit of body fat? Yes, probably going to happen, but it's not that much and it's not that fast. Whereas dirty bulking would be like eating 4,000 calories and most of the calories coming from absolute garbage sources like Twinkies and McDonald's and pizza. I do not advocate that because it is not that great for your health. Remember guys, like fitness and looking good is great and all, but if you feel like shit on the inside and you're getting like 100 grams of like saturated and trans fat and all this crap per day, it's probably not that great for you. And the other reason is because what's the point of putting on 2 pounds of muscle mass if you're going to put on 20 pounds of body fat? When the time comes that you're no longer comfortable with your current level of body fat, you're going to have to cut down. Your cut's going to take you 6 months and it's going to be torture. And I don't really advocate this. Slow and steady definitely wins the race. This is why I will always advocate a nice, gradual, consistent lean bulk. And that is why dirty bulking is not even on this list of options. Next up, this is what most of you guys are probably actually interested in. If you're watching this video and if you're actually confused about what to do, you are probably in this middle ground, this sort of comfortable with your current level of body fat. You want some more size, but at the same time, you're kind of worried about getting more body fat. And you're like, I'd like to get leaner. I want a six-pack. I want to see my pecs and my shoulders and striations. And I want to have a nice developed wide back. And I want to V-taper and I want to look good. I want to look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club or Ryan Gosling in whatever that chick flick movie was. So the next question I have for you is your fat-free mass index over 21? And again, guys, if you're interested in what that is, I'm going to A, throw up the actual calculation on the screen right now. And B, to make things simpler, I'm actually going to leave a link to a calculator for this down in the description box below. You go in there, you put in your height, your weight, your estimated body fat percentage. Most of you guys who are kind of like in this sort of range, probably somewhere between like, that 15 to 20% body fat range, somewhere around there. And if the answer is no, then once again, are you under 18? Have you been training for 2 years or more? And if you're a young guy, both in terms of your training age or in terms of your physical age, go for a recomposition because you can probably, once again, it is possible for you to gain lean body mass, lean muscle, and lose body fat at the same time. And that is pretty awesome. However, if this is not the case, if you've been training for like 5 years, and if you're like 25 or 30 years old and you've got a decent amount of experience in the gym, you are kind of desensitized to training, jump into a lean bulk. I don't think you should cut down because if you do, you're too small. You're essentially going to like burn up whatever size you have, and you're going to end up looking like a twig, and there's just no point in that. Let's say you are over an FFMI of 21. This is where you have to ask yourself a very important question. Can you dedicate 6 or more months to a lean bulk, and are you okay with gaining a little bit of body fat? Now, there's 2 components to this. The first one is, I say 6 or more months, and the reason behind this is if you say, hey, I'm okay with lean bulking for 2 months, you're not going to do anything. Lean bulking, unlike fat loss, is a very slow process. It is not uncommon for individuals to lose 1 to 2 pounds of body fat every week in terms of their weights, but it is very difficult to gain 1 to 2 pounds of lean muscle mass every week. Literally, you can be aiming for that every month and it's still pretty difficult. This is simply not enough time for you to get anything out of your lean bulk, and I don't really recommend it. And the second aspect to this is, are you okay with gaining a little bit of body fat? Guys, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I don't want to be one of those guys who sells bullshit like
programs and supplements. I see so many of these guys on TV and in the media, in the magazines, and especially on social media. They want you to buy their crap, and they're like, you will gain so much muscle mass, and you will get so lean. You can double your numbers on the bench and squat, and you won't put on a single pound of body fat. Guys, I really feel that that is bullshit. Let's be honest. If you want to get bigger, you are going to have to eat more calories. This is what your body requires. You want, simple, eat big, get big. You're going to get big in terms of your muscle mass. You're going to get big in terms of your lifts, but unfortunately, a price that you have to pay is in most cases, again, unless you're like relatively new to training age is relatively low, we're talking like under 1 or 2 years. In most cases, if you're going to be eating more to get bigger, you're going to put on some body fat. It's a necessary sacrifice. The world isn't puppies and sunshine and rainbows and, guys getting 6-packs while putting on 30 pounds of lean muscle mass. That, for most of us, that's not going to happen unless you're some genetic freak or, let's be honest, you are on steroids. So it is a necessary sacrifice, and I really think that, in my personal opinion, getting a little bit of body fat, if you get to put on actual strength and size, it is worth it. So that is it, guys. This is the flowchart. This is pretty much what's going to answer 99% of the questions out there with regards to individuals who are confused as to whether they should cut, bulk, what do they do? This is it.
Alright guys, getting back into the fat-free mass index, the FFMI, and one of the reasons why it is my absolute favorite way to analyze an individual's physique is because it doesn't involve anything subjective. It's not like, oh, he kind of looks good, or I'm gonna, he doesn't look. It's none of that. It's just numbers, and you guys know on my channel, I love numbers because numbers do not lie. So I'm gonna throw up that FFMI guideline on the screen once again right now, and essentially, I think a really good number to aim for in your physical development lifespan or career, or whatever you want to call it, your physical development journey. I think if you were able to reach a fat-free mass index of about, let's say 21, that is pretty good. At that point, you are well above the average man. Essentially, congratulations, you look like you lift. Anybody who sees you on the street is definitely like, I know that guy goes to the gym. And at this point, essentially, if you want to cut down, you could, and that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad time to consider potentially going on a cut. You don't have to, but at this point, it's okay. However, if you are below this, I personally don't recommend going on a cut unless, again, you are relatively overweight and, kind of unhealthy and just unhappy with your current body fat percentage. So guys, what I've done, I'm going to throw up on screen right now, is I actually plotted a line. This is assuming a very standard body fat percentage of about 15%. It's not shredded, it's not overweight, it's just a regular, young, healthy, athletic guy. You don't have a six-pack, but you're also, you don't have like a gut hanging over your waistline. And what I've done here is, assuming this body fat percentage, I have plotted the weight versus your height. And what this is really awesome is because you can essentially tell whether you are over or under this line for whatever your height is. And this will essentially tell you whether or not you are in a good position to potentially consider cutting down if you feel like it. So here the green is essentially the good to go area. If you are above this line, if you are in the green, for example, take an individual who is 6 feet tall and 190 pounds, assuming again a decent body fat percentage, you've got a pretty good FFMI, which is at least above 21, which is this turquoise line that goes down the middle. However, if you are in this red zone, essentially you are under that fat-free mass index, and the further you are from that line, the further you are from, an FFMI of 21. And at that point, it means that you probably don't have as much of a foundation as I personally would recommend for you to cut down. If you take an individual, for example, who is 5'10" and he weighs about 160 pounds, assuming a decent body fat percentage, again, not shredded, not fat, just normal, at that point, I personally would recommend that you take a little bit more time, put on some more muscle, build more of a foundation of actual muscle and strength, and then maybe in the future, once you've moved up a little bit on this graph, then consider cutting, because it is in my personal opinion that I would worry that if you cut down at this point, you'll essentially, 160 pounds at 5'10", you'll end up like what? You cut down, you're down to like 140 at 5'10". That is pretty damn skinny. And the whole point of looking lean is to actually have some muscle underneath your subcutaneous fat. If you don't have that, then yeah, no. So guys, this just goes to show there's so many individuals out there. There's somebody who is like 100%, they have to, and they want to cut. Good, awesome, go for it. There's individuals who, they can go either way. There's individuals who I recommend, you know what, man, you should really jump into a bulk because I think you have to put on a little bit of lean muscle mass before you cut down, because if you cut down right now, before you built a good foundation of muscle, you're gonna look like a twig. And that's one thing I really advocate to, guys. There's a lot of people who are watching this who are essentially, this skinny fat. You don't have that much muscle, your FFMI is somewhere in that 17, 18, 19 range. You're still in your first, maybe 6 to 12 months of training. But you see all these guys on YouTube, social media. Social media is great, but sometimes it is friggin' poison. So many people, they come to me and they're like, I wanna be lean because I see you, right? Because I have a competition coming up in about 5 weeks, and plus I've been training for about 12 years. I wanna be lean, I wanna have a six-pack like you. And I'm like, that's great, but all of us have been training for, in my case, over 10 years. So, you have to have patience. You can't just jump into it and boom, immediately put on 20 pounds of lean body mass and immediately, lose 20 pounds of body fat and look like, some of these social media guys in the next 6 months. It's not gonna happen. Guys, bodybuilding, fitness, physical development, whatever you are interested in, if you want to improve your body, it's a marathon. It is not a sprint. My recommendation, before I close out this video is number 1, look at the flow chart. I'm actually going to include an Imgur link down in the description box below if you guys want to get a big version of this, you want to look at it yourself. And I really recommend, follow it along. Ask these questions to yourself and go along with it yes, no, yeah, and see where you end up. And the final thing I want to mention is that this is 100% my personal opinion. This is based on my experience. I've been doing this for over 10 years, but at the end of the day, it is a very subjective topic. Nobody out there knows your physique better than you, especially no guy on YouTube or in the fitness magazines or Instagram. Nobody, can tell you what you want to do with your body. So as long as you guys do, what you want to do and you build the physique that you want, you have patience, you take your time, you do it safely, screw it, that's all that matters. And enjoy the process, because next thing you know, you're going to be like me, you're going to be training for over a decade and you can't even remember what it's like to be, 160 pounds and not able to bench press like a plate. And you think what the hell happened? The last 10 years just flew by, and it's pretty cool.